Radhe Radhe, Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Welcome to Shri Shri Radha Vinu Bihari Mandir.
Jai Ho.
Gopinath Bhavan.
Jai Ho.
Shri Vrindavan Dham.
Jai Ho.
We are coming together today to celebrate the most auspicious event of Shri Nandotsava. That is the anniversary of the birthday celebration of Krishna by Nanda Baba and Yashoda and all Brajvasis in Vrindavan. Shri Nandotsava ki jai! And also on this very amazing, special Nandotsava, another amazing thing took place. That is the appearance day of our very own Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupad. Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupad ki jai! Tadi Abir Bhav Maha Mahotsava ki jai! Radhe, Dustin.
Hari Bol.
Dustin. Hare Krishna. So, as usual, we will begin with Mangalacharan, which is page 1 of this book, Shri Gaudiya Kirti Gucha, Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutta Padakamalam.
Namo
भगवानाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिसिद्धान्त सरस्वतीति नामिने श्रीवर्षभानवी देवी गणिताय कृपाभये कृष्ण संबंध विज्ञान गहिने प्रभवे नमः माधुर्योषध प्रेमभ्या श्रीरूपानुग भक्तिदा श्रीगौर करुणाशक्ति विग्रहाय नमोस्तुते नमस्ते गौरवाणी श्रीमूर्तये दिनतारिणे रूपानुगम्भिरुद्धाप सिद्धान्तध्वन्तहारिणे नमो गौरकिशोराय साक्षात् वैराग्यमूर्तये विप्रलम्भरसम्भूते पदं पूजायते नमः नमो भक्तिविनोदाय सच्चिदानन्दनामिने गौरशक्तिस्वरूपाय रूपानुगमयायते गौराविर्भावभूमे स्वं निर्देशा सजनप्रिया वैष्णव सर्वभौमश्री जगन्नाथाय ते नमः वंशाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमो महामगन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नम्ने गौरद्विषे नमः हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते तप्तकञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये जयतां सुरतो पङ्गो भवन्नमते गति मत्सर्वस्वपरं भोजो राधावदनमोहनो दिव्यवृन्दारण्यकल्पद्रुमदो श्रीमद्रत्नागारसिंहासनस्थो श्री श्रीराधा श्रीरघुविन्ददेवो प्रेष्ठाभिः सेव्यमानो स्मरामि श्रीमद्रसरसारम्भी वंशिवततस्थितः कर्षं वेणुस्वरगोपी गोपीनाथ श्रीस्तुनः वृन्दाय तुलसीदेव्यै प्रियाय केशवस्य च कृष्णा भक्तिप्रदे देवी सत्यवत्यै नमो नमः पञ्चतत्त्वात्मकं कृष्णं भक्तरूपस्वरूपकं भक्तावतारं भक्ताख्यं नमामि भक्तशक्तिकं जय श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानन्द श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौरभक्तवृन्द चेतोदर्पणमार्जनं भवमहादावग्निनिर्वापनं श्रेयकैरवचन्द्रिकावितरणं विद्यावधूजीवनं
Varmanam Pratipadam Purnamritaśvaganam Sarvatma Samanam Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam Hare Rama Hare Rama Hare Rameva Kevalam Karunastyeva Nastyeva Nastyeva Gatiranyaka Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakati Sarma.
I don't see Jiva Prabhu. Oh, he's there.
So Shri Guru Charana Padma, it's right in the beginning of the Guru Bhajans. Page 28 in this book, or if you don't have the book, Jiva Pavana Prabhu mercifully posts the bhajans in the comment section of the thread of this post. So just scroll to the most recent post of Jiva Pavana Prabhu and you will find the bhajan there so you can follow along with us.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Dandavat Prabhu.
Dandavat Prabhu.
Kevala Bhakati Sadama
Excuse me.
While you're doing that, do you know which one we should
No.
sing next?
Ebala Kuruna Koro.
Ebala Karuna Koro. It starts E-I-B-A-R-A, and in the songbook, it's page 44. E-I-B-A-R-A. Ebala Karuna Koro. Rupa Charan Prabhu is saying to please tell the cookie pastimes with Srila Prabhupada.
Tika, we'll do our best. What page?
44.
44.
Okay, Hare Krishna.
Shuniyachi sadhu muke bole sarvajan. Page 51 in the book, or just go to the most recent comment of Jiva Pavana Prabhu, and you will see there he has posted the bhajan. You can follow along. Shuniyachi sadhu muke bole sarvajan. Guru Swami Prabhu ki
Jai. Nitai Gunamani Amar because he broke the dam. I'm just translating.
Nityananda Prabhu broke the dam, and someone else broke the dam. Who broke the dam?
Srila Prabhupada. Okay, so it's page 61, and it starts Nitaiguna, Nitai Guna Mani.
आत्मघाती हो जानिया शून्य से आत्मघाती हो निताय
So this bhajan, Nitai Gunamaniyama, is so appropriate for this day, which is the anniversary of the appearance of our Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupad. Our Srila Gurudev Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Maharaja, he said that he is non-different. Our Srila Prabhupada is non-different from Sri Nityananda Prabhu or Baladev Prabhu, that he is Akhanda Guru Tattva. It means that what he is giving and what he is representing is the full, unbroken Guru principle. It means he is manifesting that. And our Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Goswami Maharaj also said he is Shakti Avesh of Nityananda Prabhu. It means Nityananda Prabhu is fully infusing him with his mercy potency. And we have seen, just like here it says, that Nityananda Prabhu brought that flood of praying to the land of Bengal. Or our Srila Prabhupada brought that flood of praying to the entire world. The devotees are submerged in it, but the wretched and lowly remain floating. But somehow our Srila Prabhupada, he reached out to even those who were so wretched and so lowly. Those persons who in Vedic culture would have been considered untouchable. Even it was said that back in the day, even now, if you read in Shastra, if a Brahmin crosses the ocean, he loses his caste. But what did Srila Prabhupada do? He crossed many oceans and he brought Krishna praying to the whole world. He does not discriminate against the wretched, lowly, fallen, and sinful. Our Srila Prabhupada, he told our Srila Gurudev, I was sitting down in the park chanting Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Jai Sachinandan, Jai Gaurahari, and Hare Krishna Mahamantra with my eyes closed. And when I opened my eyes, I saw the most amazing thing. Normally when you see stool, you see worms and all kinds of insects going toward the stool. But I saw so many of these worms leading the stool. And they were becoming devotees and putting their arms in the air and chanting the holy names of the Lord. This means the wretched and fallen, those who are engaged in all kinds of simple activities, eating the stool of this material world, they gave up everything at such a time when everyone was endeavoring to enjoy that stool. Free drugs, free sex, free everything. And he said, give it all up. And for him, they gave it up. Amazing. He said that's why so many people are not coming to him. He said if I was like other persons who are allowing all of these things, imagine how it would boom. But that wasn't his mood. He did not discriminate against the wretched, lowly, fallen, or sinful. He freely offered everyone that praying that is so rare that it is difficult even for Lord Brahma to attain. See, our Srila Prabhupada was not giving anything ordinary. He wasn't giving ordinary knowledge of just Vaikuntha Prem, or the knowledge of Brahm, or any other kind of material religious thing. He was giving Gauravani Prachar, the teachings of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which are even difficult for Lord Brahma to attain or even comprehend. But Srila Prabhupada was giving it freely everywhere. This says by cutting a channel in the dam. Nityananda Prabhu broke that dam. And our Srila Prabhupada did the same thing. Even previously before him, some of his godbrothers were sent by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada to the West, and they went to England and Germany. And they did successfully meet with some people. And it was intentionally to meet with the higher echelons of society, that if they were to take to Krishna Bhakti in the line of Mahaprabhu, if they were to accept those teachings and preaching, then anyone who would be following the big people would automatically accept that. That's what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. Our Srila Prabhupada also tried to do this, but he saw that people were so materialistic they couldn't accept it. So he took shelter of the holy name. He took shelter of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu, and especially of the lotus feet of his Guru Maharaj, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, closed his eyes and began taking shelter of Sri Nam Sankirtan. And by that, the entire environment was purified. So he broke that dam, and that dam, the broken dam, from that the flood of mercy poured everywhere, in every nook and cranny, and caused this flood of praying to search to each and every house. And he engaged his own disciples in going door to door, airport to airport, city to city, village to village, every town and village, to bring the holy name of Krishna everywhere. So here Lochan Das is saying, whoever has not worshipped my Nitai knowingly commits suicide. I will be so bold as to make this same statement. Whoever does not acknowledge, honor and respect our Srila Prabhupada, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, whoever does not honor, respect and give that kind of worship, honor and respect to him, also this is very, very disastrous in someone's life. It is quite obvious what a great personality he is, what he did, what gift he gave to the world, how he is that person whom Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recognized, that one day my name will be spread to every town and village. It was by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada that took place. Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So we're going to sing Gauranga Bulite Habe, but in a tune that Srila Prabhupada sang. Our Gurudev was very fond of mentioning how when Srila Prabhupada would do kirtan, how he would sing in such pathetic tunes, means evoking a mood of pathos, of emotion in the heart, that everyone's hearts would melt. His heart would be melting. He would be singing with tears flowing from his eyes and his heart breaking in separation. So we're going to sing Gauranga Bulite Habe, Puraka Sharir, in a very pathos-evoking tune that Srila Prabhupada would sing in him. Page 86, Gauranga Bulite Habe. Jayo Sachidananda Jayo Gaurahari Jai Sachidananda Jai Gaurahari Sachidananda Jai Gaurahari Gaurahari Prabhupada Shri Narayan Guru Ki Jai, Prem Purushottam Sachidananda Gaur Hari Ki Jai. What's the time?
Hari 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 Hari. Sure. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu, Daya Koramori. Page number
96.
And if you don't have the songbook, just keep looking for the name Jiva Bhavana. And if you see Jiva Bhavana Prabhu's name, you'll find that he's posting so much sweet nectar. But along with that, he's posting all of the bhajans and kirtans that we're singing so that we can join together in sweet kirtan.
Just remember, Jiva Bhavana means who is saving, who is merciful to the Jivas. So if you see that name, then you think, this is for me. Okay, so this one that we're going to sing, Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Daya Koramore. This was also a very dear favorite of ours, Srila Prabhupada. So we'll call out for the mercy of Mahaprabhu and all of his associates. Krishna Chaitanya Daya Koro Shri Krishna Chaitanya Daya Koro Tomamina Ke Doyalu Jagata Samsari Tomamina That last one, Jai Sa Parshada Jai Gaura Hari. This means all of the associates of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Swap Parishad. Parishad means associates or, yes, associates, Parishad. So we're begging for the mercy of all of their associates. When Srila Prabhupada would sing this bhajan, his voice would choke and he would weep. Yes, it's getting lit.
So Jayaratha Mahaprabhu, page? Kishori?
I don't know. I don't normally go open the book for Jayaratha Mahaprabhu.
Page 158.
Our Gurudev and so many other illustrious Vaishnavas in the line of Srila Rupa Goswami have emphatically declared that this particular bhajan, Jai Radha Madhava, Kunja Bihari, Gopi Jana Vallabha, Girivaradhari, that this bhajan is specifically the mood of not only the gopis, but this name Kunja Bihari is not a name for any cowherd boy to call Krishna or even Mother Yashoda. Kunja Bihari means the deep, deep kunjas, serving Radha and Krishna in those very, very intimate pastimes. So our Guru Varga, our Gurudev, Bhaktivedanta Narayan Maharaja and others have mentioned that this was his favorite bhajan, what he sang every single day before class, what he gave all over the world, and he was always remembering these beautiful pastimes. I just missed the page.
158.
158.
As most of you would know, that Srila Prabhupada would sing this before he would give Srimad Bhagavatam class. This was a very, very dear favorite of his and became famous throughout the world. This is the mood of the Gopi Jan. So Srila Prabhupada was spreading that around the world. Even we didn't know it. We just thought what a beautiful bhajan, what a beautiful song, what a beautiful mood. But little did we know what he was impressing in our hearts, what kind of impressions he was giving us. So having this from him is so powerful and so important. Really, it's integral to our sadhana and our bhajan. It's saying, this is your goal. We're reading Srimad Bhagavatam. It is Krishna himself in the book form. He is manifesting. And there, before opening that, he would sing Jaya Radha Madhava, showing this is the goal of what we are doing. And in every page and every word permeates this mood, this bhajan. Everything is there. So how tricky our acharyas are. Sometimes we don't even know what they're doing. Most of the time we don't know what they're doing. But they make their way into our hearts and they put these impressions. We know that anyone around the world, if they're in an ISKCON center, before they give class, they'll sing Jaya Radha Madhava. Very few maybe actually really contemplate why he did this, what kind of impression he was giving before we would enter there. Or maybe many, many did. I know I didn't. So how fortunate we are that he gave this to us, that this is our goal, to become one of the Gopi Jan. He made that very, very clear.
And he also established the Rath Yatra festival all over the world. And we all know what that means. It's not just pulling the chariots of Dwarkadish Krishna and Balaram and Subhadra around in a circle. What does it represent? We'll discuss that a bit more later. Should we do his Jaya in between?
Radha Hare
गिरिराज महाराज की जय। हरि नाम संकीर्तन की जय। हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र की जय। गौर भक्तवृंद की जय। निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। गुरुवे गौरचंद्राय राधिकाय तदालये कृष्णाय कृष्णभक्ताय तद्भक्ताय नमो नमः। अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमः ॐ विष्णुपदाय राधिकाय प्रियात्मने श्रीश्रीमद् भक्तिवेदान्त नारायण नित्यनामिने। नमः ॐ विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी नित्यनामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। वंशाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। मुखं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणम्। First of all, I offer my Dandavat Pranam thousands of times in the dust of the lotus feet of our beloved Gurudev, Nitya Lila Prabhu Vishnupad, Ashtotar Shata Shri Srimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Maharaja. In the same thousands of Dandavat Pranam into the dust of the lotus feet of Nitya Lila Prabhu Vishnupad, Ashtotar Shata Shri Srimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupad, and to all of our Rupanuga Guru Varga, And to all Vaishnavas past, present and future, including all of those who are present with us today, I offer my Dandavat Pranam.
So last night, a very, very auspicious event occurred. At midnight, in Gokul, Krishna was born.
Sorry.
Oh, I thought you wanted to say something. Krishna was born. Our Guru Varg have explained that Nanda Baba and Yashoda Maya, they were somewhat middle-aged when they had Krishna. For many, many years, they were very disappointed because they didn't have any child. Nanda Baba's father began to pray using a Lakshmi Narayan mantra and was chanting and chanting. All of the people in Braj were praying, may Yashoda give birth to a child. So last night, we celebrated the appearance of Krishna. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, it explains there that when Krishna was born in Braj, it was as if a beautiful sapphire, very darkish complexion, had been uncovered. Or it seemed as if a very dark monsoon rain cloud had come to earth. The birth of Krishna in Vrindavan stimulated the birth of Vatsalya Prem in the hearts of all of the inhabitants of Vrindavan. Everyone became so joyful. It went around very quickly. Nanda Baba, Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda Devi, they had a baby last night. And everyone began to celebrate. They put on their best garments. They put on makeup. They put on jewelry. And they brought the very most expensive, the very most deepest treasures, not only of their hearts, but even that they could bring and carry in their arms to offer to that child. Our Gurudev said, even the trees began to bloom and flowers began to fall down because the trees wanted to offer the very best of everything. Oh, Krishna has been born. Krishna has been born. Today is called Nandotsava. Today is the festival of the birth of Krishna. Late last night, he was born. But today, they celebrate his birth. So it is told, especially by Srila Bhaktivedanta Bharati Goswami Maharaj, he tells how when Krishna was born, and anytime it's Krishna's birthday, Nanda Maharaj holds a very grand festival. In this festival, Srila Bharati Maharaj was explaining, usually if there's some kind of an event, you have to be invited. You have to have some kind of an invitation. But not with this Mahotsav, not with this festival. He said that anyone and everyone was welcome. Not only were they welcome, but they could eat, they could dance, and they were given so much in charity. Nanda Baba was giving everything. What can I give you? What can I give? You should please bless my Lala. Bless my boy. So today, as we heard last night, in Vedic culture, the tradition is not that we get on our birthday. In Vedic culture, it's that I should give something. So everyone in Braj, they feel Krishna is mine, including those very, very exceptional gopis, like Srimati Radhika. Srila Prabhupada explains that only she can say Krishna is mine. Feeling like this, they are going everywhere. What can I give? What can I give? How can I give something to you? Srila Bhaktivedanta Bharati Maharaj explained, even if someone just came by chance, oh, they heard some festival is going on, even then that was enough qualification to get mercy. Well, also Krishna, it's his birthday. Our Gurudev explained he also felt, what can I give the world? Today is my birthday, so I have to give something very exceptional. Our Gurudev, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, He said that today, on this day, Nandotsava, Krishna opened his own storehouse and he began to search for a very, very special treasure. Taking that exceptional jewel, he offered it freely to the world. He said, what is that jewel? Oh, it is Srila Swami Maharaj, our Srila Prabhupada. That was Krishna's gift. Today is my birthday, so I must give the best thing I have. The greatest thing I have in charity. What is that? My own near and dear one. My own devotee. I will give that to the world. I will offer him. And what did Srila Prabhupada do? In 1896, he appeared in this world to Gaur Mohan Dey and Rajani Devi. Srila Prabhupada explains that he was born and raised in a Vaishnav family. His auntie and uncles all were Vaishnavas. And because he was born on this day, Nandotsava, they called him Nanda Dulal, and for short, his nickname was Nandu. So they called him Nandu. If you look up in Vedabase, Srila Prabhupada speaks about it. It's so sweet. When Srila Prabhupada was very young, he tells that his father used to ask anyone who would come, any sadhus or anyone that would come, he would ask them, you please bless my child, bless him. But what would he ask? To any of them, they could smoke bidis, they were smoking ganja, whatever it was. He didn't mind, but you bless my child. What? So that he will become a very great devotee of Radharani. That was his prayer to every sadhu. Srila Prabhupada grew up with deities, Radha Govinda. And they were his heart, his everything. We know that at the age of 5 is when he inaugurated the first Rath Yatra festival in the West. When he was a child, he had witnessed the Rath Yatra ceremony. And he thought, I also want to hold my own ceremony. But his father was telling him, we can't afford to do this whole thing and build this cart and make a parade. We can't do it. Srila Prabhupada tells how he was crying and crying, throwing a tantrum in the street. Actually, he was quite spoiled. He says that one night his mother made rotis instead of puris, and he threw a tantrum. So his mother sent him to bed without eating. When Gaur Mohan Dey, his father, came home, he said, where's my son? He said, oh, that naughty one. I made rotis, and he was crying for deep-fried puris. So I sent him to bed. He said, no, you must make him puris. So he had Rajani Devi make puris, and he woke up Abai. Abai Charan was his name. Means he who is fearless. Why? Because he is at the feet of Krishna. He woke him up and fed him. So Srila Prabhupada was saying, I was quite spoiled. So his father was telling him, we can't do this. How can we afford this thing? So he was throwing a tantrum and crying. And an elderly neighbor came and said, what is wrong with the boy? She was somewhat more well-to-do. And he said, oh, he wants to hold a Rath Yatra festival, but we can't afford this cart. And she said, I will do it. I will give the money, and you just make sure that you do the event, but I will sponsor it. So Srila Prabhupada became so happy. So he went to all of his friends' houses and neighbors and said, okay, you make this preparation, you make this preparation. He had many of them make kachoris. It was his favorite thing to eat. He said he would run around the house with kachoris in his pockets. And so his mother called him Kishori Mukh. It means kachori face. So he had all of the neighbors engaged in cooking for this festival. So then they started the Rath Yatra, and they were pulling Jagannath, Baladev and Subhadra, and all the children were doing kirtan. And of course the parents have to be there to watch the children playing, don't go in the streets. So there was a whole procession going down. And so many people started coming out, and they were going to Gaur Mohan Dey, and they were asking him, what, are you having a function and you didn't invite us? We thought that we were friends, and now you're doing this thing and you're not inviting us to it. And Gaur Mohan Dey said, oh, it's just child's play. And they were saying, no, this isn't child's play, it's a festival of the Lord. So we see that from a very, very young age, Srila Prabhupada was very deeply attached to bringing Krishna to Vrindavan. Do you want to speak a little on that?
This is very significant, this Ratha Yatra festival. This is the main festival with the most public exposure that Srila Prabhupada inaugurated in the world. And you find that he has inaugurated it all over the world. In every city, in every town, this Ratha Yatra festival. It is not like he was unaware of the deeper meanings of this festival. He was fully well versed in all tattva, all siddhanta, all beautiful rasik and bhavuk meanings and everything. Because of course he's a pure devotee, a transcendental personality, an eternal associate of Radha and Krishna, a true Rupanuga Vaishnava. So, from every perspective, he is well versed in the deeper meanings of this festival. So from an external perspective, it appears that one is pulling these ropes, that one is pulling Jagannath, Baladev and Subhadra. A lot of kirtan is there, a lot of nice prashadam is there. It's a beautiful festival where so many people come together and socialize and enjoy chanting and singing and dancing and prashadam and everything else. So Srila Prabhupada was so expert in how to engage everyone somehow or other to come together in the name of Krishna to glorify Krishna's names, forms, qualities, pastimes, and dance and chant and take prashadam. As he would say, chant and be happy. However, for those who are more sincere, they would want to understand, what is this festival about anyway? Why are you pulling these chariots, and what is this interesting looking form on the chariot, and why does each of them have this form? So we all know, I'm going to tell it very quickly, but these forms are like the partially melted forms of Krishna, Baladev and Subhadra when they were hearing the Harikatha, the glories of the Brajabasi's love and separation for Krishna in Vrindavan. And Srila Prabhupada writes that this Ratha Yatra festival is nothing but the sentiment of the gopis bringing Krishna back to Vrindavan on the chariot of their hearts. This is the meaning of this Ratha Yatra festival. So this is what he established all over the world. This mood of bringing Krishna back to Vrindavan. Ending this feeling of separation. Especially that separation of Srimati Radhika for Krishna, which is the greatest, most intense, highest separation, because she has more love by millions of miles than anyone. So this mood of bringing Krishna back to Vrindavan, Jai Jai Radha Krishna Jugala Milan, so that Radha and Krishna can meet happily forever. This is the mood of Rupa Goswami. This is the mood of all of our Rupanuga Guru Varga. And this is what Srila Prabhupada was engaging the whole world in doing. Bringing this Krishna back to Vrindavan to aid in this mood of the separation of the gopis for Krishna, that they should have beautiful reunion. So I just wanted to share that in a small way.
Just imagine what kind of impressions he was giving to, is still to this day, giving to all the world. Us wayward souls are in the wrong place, just like Krishna in Dwarka. He knows I'm in the wrong place. At night he's weeping and crying, Hey Lalita, Hey Vishakhe, Hey Radhe, where are you? So us jivas fallen in this world, running wayward here and there, Srila Prabhupada knew if we even saw this festival, if we touched the ropes pulling the cart, that we would be engaged in the service of the gopis, pulling Krishna. But what does that mean? It means that we are also holding on to that mercy rope. That mercy rope is Guru. It's Guru Tattva. Holding on to that rope and bringing us to Vrindavan. Srila Prabhupada, if you ever saw it, this festival, especially in places like Venice Beach, California, even the police would come And they would say, these days of your festival are the safest days of the year. There's no crime. Usually there's gangs, there's a lot of drugs, there's horrible things going on there. And the police said, but these days, when the festival is going on, there's no crime. And there are people who wait for the festival and they're on the roofs of their houses. They're all standing outside on their balconies and watching. And as kids, we used to throw all kinds of Mahaprasad to them and they'd be reaching down trying to grab it. You would have at the end of the parade, even to this day, the Christians with their signs, some dressed in cows and all this thing, dressed in cow suits. But they're walking behind protesting the festival, but yet they're walking behind the cart and the kirtan. They have no idea. This is what it means when our acharyas say there is no ill effect when you come in contact to the movement of Mahaprabhu. Even those who are protesting are getting bhakti sukriti, and they have no idea. How merciful is that? Like Jagai and Madai, yet they're not even looking like, oh, I want to know, I want some help. Nothing like that. They actually carry a sign saying, eat the cow. They do. And as kids, we used to pelt them with Mahaprasad.
Peanuts and raisins.
So, when Srila Prabhupada was older, and he was a married man, he met his Gurudev, Srila Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur. And he explains that in around 1932, his Guru Maharaj told him, you are an intelligent fellow. You are an intelligent man, educated. You speak English very well, so you should preach in the English language. This is very significant, not just because he preached in the English language and affected all of us, but how many years was it from the time that his Gurudev gave him that order to the time that he actually went out and performed this service? It means that throughout his life, that was burning and churning his heart. He was doing his external duties. He was taking care of his family, trying this business and that business, trying to do so many things, having a pharmaceutical thing, having all kinds of businesses. He was doing his duty, but at the same time, he was hosting Vaishnavas in his home. He showed how a householder should behave. For maybe 6 to 7 years, he had Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj staying with him in a separate place. He had Sadananda Swami, the German disciple of Srila Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur, would also stay with him. And he would love to discuss with him philosophy. Hearing how this Sadananda Prabhu became attracted, he was picking his brain, trying to understand what is the mentality of those in the West. You can read about it on Vedabase, so beautiful. So he had this mood constantly in his heart. My Gurudev gave me an order. Sometimes we might think that when Gurudev is ordering us to chant our Harinam, that it's not a personal order. Oh, he just tells this to everyone. He didn't give me a personal thing. Actually, everything that we do is to bring us to that point where we have taste for chanting the holy names. We have to have that kind of mood toward the name, the form, the quality, and the pastimes of Krishna. He descended in the form of his holy name. So our Srila Prabhupada, he showed that at 60, 70 years old is not time to retire. It's just beginning. Our Gurudev, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Maharaja, he tells how he was pushing and pushing to have this Abai Charanaravinda, when he was initiated was his name, and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur gave him the title Bhaktivedanta. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, did I say it right? He gave him the title Bhaktivedanta. Already he was a Bhaktivedanta. And our...
Before he was given the title Bhaktivedanta, actually they wanted to give him the title Bhakti Siddhanta, like his Gurudev. But in order to keep that title unique to his Gurudev, then that title Bhaktivedanta was given to him. In fact, they all called him Bhaktivedanta Prabhu. You can say it? Okay.
So our Gurudev, he explains that he was very close and serving Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj, our Param Gurudev. And Srila Prabhupada would live with him. When I say Srila Prabhupada, I'm talking about our Srila Prabhupada, just to be clear. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. And when I say Bhaktivedanta, I'll say his full name. So Prabhupada was staying in the mat with our Param Gurudev. And Srila Gurudev explains that when he saw this, he was astonished. He said, I used to see so many sannyasis coming, and they would give all honor to my Gurudev, because he was the personal sevak of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He came to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur when he was only 16 years old. Before the mission even began, he came with his aunties, and he said, oh, this boy will do everything. So everyone had so much honor for our Param Gurudev. But Gurudev said, I saw something astonishing. When Bhaktivedanta Prabhu came, he saw his own Gurudev giving him great honor, giving him all kinds of pranam and giving him so much space to preach. He saw that there was something different in the way he treated our Srila Prabhupada. And so he wanted to know, who is he? Do you remember what Param Gurudev said?
He just said something to the effect that he is very brilliant, very learned and knowledgeable in all Shastra, and he preaches in an uncompromising way. You should serve him, and you should learn also under his guidance.
So from that time, he started to become very close to our Srila Prabhupada. Gurudev said he would even take him on his lap. We saw this kind of thing with Bhakti Kama Govinda Maharaj, how he would very sweetly give so much affection to the young men. So the same thing happened with our Prabhupada, or our Gurudev and Srila Prabhupada. Do you want to add anything here?
Continue.
Okay, so there's so many different leelas. We know that Srila Prabhupada had some marital issues. His wife was very fed up with him because he was totally immersed in Radha and Krishna. He really didn't have much taste for his family life. And so he was writing Bhagavad Gita. And his wife, I don't even know her name, do you know her name?
I don't remember.
Anyway, she actually, because she wanted to take tea, and Srila Prabhupada didn't buy those things, she sold his Bhagavad Gita, and she sold his writing, his papers, his manuscripts. She sold them for tea and for biscuits. It is said that he actually ran after her to take care of business, and she ran to Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj, who protected her. He was so angry. She sold that. Can you imagine? Wow. So our Srila Prabhupada, at the very elderly age of 66, 67, began to make his move for his worldwide seva to his Gurudev. Srila Prabhupada himself says that when he was in Mathura, he would immediately upon meeting anyone, even a stranger, he would say, I need to go to America. Do you know anyone who can help me, who can sponsor me? I have to follow the order of my Guru Maharaj. And that was some of the way that he would introduce himself. So immediately upon meeting someone, he would know, can you help me or not? Srila Prabhupada said that one day he walked up to somebody and was speaking to them and said, I need to go to America. Do you know anyone there? And this man said, actually, I have a son. His name is Gopal. He's living in Pennsylvania. I will ask him if he can sponsor you. And it ended up that his son wrote back and said, yes, we'll sponsor him. So Srila Prabhupada made a very great journey. He took a cargo ship for 37, 38 days, a cargo ship. I just want to impress upon you what a cargo ship is like.
When we lived in Fiji, we had to take cargo ships from the main island to the island where we were living, and it took 24 hours. mind you, it wasn't very comfortable. It was also not very clean. It was meant for transporting goods, so there were cockroaches and it wasn't very nice. Cargo ships are not comfortable like passenger ferries or those cruise ships. Cargo ships are a very different story. They carry a lot of things, and 24 hours, it would leave us a bit dizzy for about 7 days. Literally, like your body would become accustomed to the ship, and even after you would get off the ship, you'd feel, I've never been drunk, but you would kind of be like this, moving, and everything would be spinning. It was just how it was when you would go through those choppy waters. 38 days? We were there for 24 hours, 38 days. This was very, very intense journey for him.
Damodar Prabhu and Balabhadra Prabhu are telling that Srila Prabhupada's wife's name was Radharani Devi, and she was 22. He was 22 when they married. Thank you so much. Thank you. So he took this cargo ship, and if you ever read his diary, he's talking about how he was trying to get the ticket to go and how difficult it was. What's her name?
Who? Sumati Morarji.
Sumati Morarji. She owned this company, and he was going to her, asking her, please help me, I need to go to America, I need to go to the West. And she would say, you're an old man, you won't make it, you won't make the journey, I won't be at fault of killing you, I won't let you go. Srila Prabhupada was begging and trying. Finally, he went to her secretary and begged. At last, she said, okay, fine, I will do it. So we know that on this journey, Srila Prabhupada had 2 major heart attacks. He talks about how Krishna personally came and massaged his heart, and how Das Avatar was rowing this ship. And the captain actually came to Srila Prabhupada, and they said to him, you know, the seas have never been this calm on this part of the journey, never. And so they said, you should always be with us. Srila Prabhupada wrote this. So when Srila Prabhupada arrives in Boston Harbor, he himself tells what happened. He said, I arrived. Hold on.
It's okay. Sorry, I blocked your view.
It's okay. He said that I arrived at 1 p.m. and he waited at a bus stop until 5 p.m. Now this is after 38 days of being on the cargo ship, 2 heart attacks. Someone came and showed him, you should get on this bus. So he says, then I waited till 5 p.m. to catch a 9-hour bus to Pennsylvania. I arrived at 2 a.m. The next morning, I was taken to the YMCA.
That's the Young Men's Christian Association. It's like hostels for people who didn't really have a place to live. They would kind of go and stay in those facilities.
So Srila Prabhupada is saying here that he was brought the next morning to the YMCA. I had always thought that he lived with his family, but he didn't. He would go there to cook his meals. And then Gopal Prabhu, who he was staying with, he was married to a Western woman. And because she didn't know how to cook Indian food, when he saw that Srila Prabhupada was cooking so beautifully, he also was engaging Srila Prabhupada and cooking for him. Oh, please make me too. Make it for me too. This shocked me. Sometimes when we have any difficulties in our sadhana, or any difficulties in our life, or in our service to our Guru Varga, we think, oh, maybe this is Krishna saying it's not a good idea, or we shouldn't do it. But looking at this, and seeing how Srila Prabhupada, he himself, I read today, he said Krishna's mercy is definitely here. It must be. He said, otherwise, how could one man with 40 rupees, how can he begin such a mission? He was speaking of himself. And he was saying, Krishna is supplying everything. We shouldn't spoil it. We shouldn't become complacent. We should know that this is all belonging to Krishna and use everything in his service. But Srila Prabhupada worked very, very hard under difficult circumstances, and he never gave up. When he was in New York, his typewriter was stolen. There was a thief that broke in. There was a drug addict who he shared a place with who actually attacked him. He went through so much, but he never gave up. He said he would. Many times he would say to Krishna, "That's it, if nothing happens today, I'm giving up. I can't do it anymore." He started going to Tompkins Square Park. Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Maharaj said, because he made his heart empty of any other thing other than the desire to serve Krishna. What did he say? "Oh my Lord, I am just like a puppet in your hands. So if you have brought me here to dance, then make me dance, O Lord, make me dance as you like." He went to the park, and with that mood of complete surrender to Krishna, for Krishna's pleasure, for the pleasure of his Guru, he began to chant the holy names. Chanting and chanting, he opened his eyes and he saw so many young people started to come forward, and then his mission began. Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Maharaj said, just like a flower in the forest, he said, it's not calling, "Come and smell me, come and smell me," but the fragrance is so sweet that all bees will just naturally go toward it. He said automatically, because he was pleasing Krishna, because he was completely surrendered, 100% to Krishna, everyone became attracted and satisfied. Do you want to speak a little?
I just like that beautiful play on words that she just said, as a flower is attracting everyone. So by his complete dedication, 100% means it's 100%, but it's also that fragrance. Because when one pleases Krishna, when one pleases Krishna, automatically everyone feels pleased. So by his one-pointed dedication to the lotus feet of his Gurudev, in the service of Krishna, by that so many were attracted.
Do you want to speak some? I don't want to.
Well, I want you to continue from where you were.
I wanted to go back in time just a little bit. When we first came to the Math in 1996, we wanted to ask some of Gurudev's godbrothers if they also knew Srila Prabhupada and if they remembered him. And we went to one Vaishnava, his name was Shukananda Prabhu. And we said, "Prabhuji, did you ever meet our Srila Prabhupada?" And he became so happy and he said, "Yes, yes." He said, "I was a doctor and I used to do a very famous water treatment." And he started to tell us what kind of medicine and how Prabhupada really liked it. But then he said something really sweet. He said, every weekend, Gurudev would make us leave Keshavji Gaudiya Math in Mathura and have to go all the way to Vrindavan, to Radha Damodar, and join with Swamiji's program. Every weekend he would have a program. Well, he said the roads were very bad and it would take a very long time. And so they would come and I was looking at him and he had this face like, "We didn't want to go." He said, "We didn't like it." And I was shocked. I'm like, "What?" And he said, the kirtan was so sweet and we had so much nice ras there. And he said, but then for an hour and a half or even longer, he would speak in English. Prabhupada would speak in English. And he said, and we didn't understand anything, but Gurudev would make us go. We would say, "But he's talking in English." And Gurudev would say, "No, you have to go." And then Shukananda Prabhu smiled really happily to us, really like so much pride. He said, he was practicing. He was practicing on us. At the time, he was like, why am I having to do this? Why is Gurudev making us do this? Gurudev understood something about him. Oh, he's actually endeavoring to begin what was the order of his Gurudev. And he would make all of the devotees, the brahmacharis, go and hear from him. For them it was an austerity, just like for us if we have to sit in a Hindi lecture or a Russian lecture or Italian, whatever it might be. If we
I
don't
can handle Italian.
If we don't understand it, we're just kind of and every weekend having to do it. And we were also told that Srila Prabhupada, he himself said that when he would do Madhukari, it means he would go door to door and give some Hari Katha or Hari Kirtan and beg for something. He wouldn't beg for rice or for dal or for some kind of food or money. He actually would go door to door and beg for pens and paper so that he could write because he couldn't afford it. Our Gurudev said he barely even had a good chadar. So when I would go to visit him, I would take my own chadar and lie it on the ground and we would sit together and do kirtan. We would do, I want you to be able to speak something.
You were saying something?
No, you should speak.
So I'll continue with what she was just saying. Our Gurudev said that they would cook together. That Srila Prabhupada would roll the chapatis, and our Gurudev, he would puff them on the fire. And they used to sit down and discuss so much beautiful Harikatha together. Very deep moods, he said. And at that time, Gurudev said also how Srila Prabhupada would sing with his heart breaking and tears flowing from his eyes. Vande Rupa Sanatano Rabhujago Sri Jiva Gopalako and Sri Rupa Manjari Pada Semor Sampada. He said you should see how he would weep when he was chanting these bhajans. He said some people think that Prabhupada was not Rupanuga. What is more Rupanuga, what is more Rasik than this bhajan Sri Rupa Manjari Pada, Gurudev would say. Some people say we've never heard Prabhupada singing this Sri Rupa Manjari Pada because we haven't heard a recording of it. It's not like our Gurudev would bring a tape recorder. Our Gurudev used to throw tape recorders against the wall. You cannot capture the divine in this box here.
He said those black boxes will cheat you.
Even the first time I met him, when I asked him, can I take a picture of you? He said, why do you want to capture me in your black box? Anyhow, I took a picture, but why would he come and bring a tape recorder? At that time, they're opening their hearts and serving Krishna. So it's not like, these days some people, they actually they have their phone there to see who's clicking like as I'm doing kirtan. Oh, who's liking my thing. This is not the way of the pure devotees or any real devotee. And who's loving what I'm doing. They were serving Krishna together. So he was explaining how Srila Prabhupada would sing in a choked voice. What a deep-hearted Rupa Anuga Vaishnav he is. And Gurudev said they used to spend so much time together. You cannot imagine the things they would discuss. So our Gurudev was very confident, based on all of their beautiful discussions, all of the sweet moods that they would discuss, what Prabhupada's deep-hearted nature is. I wanted to share something very specific about Prabhupada's youth. You already said that.
What?
That his father would pray that he would become a pure devotee of Radharani. So just going back to this point, Prabhupada was very fond of his own father. Because his father, he always said, is a pure devotee of the Lord. He would worship Radha and Krishna. And his prayer to anyone, please bless my son that he will become a pure devotee of Radharani. This is quite unique. Normally you hear pure devotee of Krishna, but Prabhupada would very proudly mention this about his father, that my father would pray this for me, that he should become a pure devotee of Radharani. He mentioned that his father didn't pay too much attention to academics and all of these other things, but he wanted him to become expert in the arts of bhakti, that he should become expert in doing kirtan, in playing mridanga, in playing harmonium, in doing the activities of bhakti. So this time, even he dedicated his Krishna book to his father, Gaur Mohan. Amazing, isn't it? Who's a pure devotee, he said. So from the beginning of his life, he had this kind of influence. And coming to his Guru Maharaj, at that time in 1922 was the first time he met his Guru Maharaj, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada. And he was part of our Srila Prabhupada was part of the Gandhi movement at that time. And his friends were trying to come to get him to meet one sadhu. And he said, I've seen so many. He said, they're all nonsense, bogus persons. You know, he wasn't interested. And they're like, no, you have to meet this one. He's the real deal. He's different. And he was like, and they're like, trust me, just come on, come on. And when he met him, for the first time, he realized he is different. This person perfectly practiced everything he preached. And he gave evidences what is important in life in such a way that he said it made a very deep impression on his heart. And right from the beginning he was talking, oh, you are young, you are intelligent, you understand, you should also preach this mission in the English language. He said from the first meeting with his Gurudev, he had this deep mood in his heart. And it wasn't until many years later that he actually accepted formal initiation, from 1922 to 1933. These days, it's not like there's time for a relationship to build. There's no marination, no relationship. It's like you meet somebody and they're like, boom, your new name is such and such.
And also waiting. Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Maharaj waited until his late 80s and 90s to start giving initiation.
But really, it's like there's no time for a relationship to build. We've met so many people. We're like, who's your guru? Did you receive initiation? Yeah, I think so. What's your name? What's your guru's name? Well, how did you take initiation? Well, it was kind of an accident.
We've heard that.
Many times. But you see how he was associating with the disciples of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada. Getting to understand, getting to know him, and listening, developing a relationship. And finally, after 11 years, he received initiation. And for him, it was the most deep thing. From that moment, his life, everything was a concentration, gradual concentration. It was a deepening of this mood of dedication to his Gurudev. Despite everything else that was going on in his life, he could not forget the instructions of his Guru Maharaj. And it took such a long time for him to actually manifest that. Now, 1965, from 33 until 65. Quite a long time. How many years is that? 32 years.
Gurudev famously says that he waited 20 years to follow Srila Prabhupada's orders.
Yes, our Gurudev said that Srila Prabhupada ordered him on his departure bed that you should help my disciples and that we should all work together. How powerful. Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Maharaja said that our Srila Prabhupada was well aware that there were so many differences between so many of the disciples of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada. But the last order of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur is that you should all work together to bring this mission of Mahaprabhu to the world. And our Prabhupada was very frustrated and even disgusted how so many were not willing to work together. And he was always trying to make that. Whenever he would come together and he would say, we should try to follow the order of our Gurudev and work conjointly, keeping our Gurudev in the center. How powerful would this be? And even on his departure bed, one of the last conversations he had, he was really begging that you should all work together and asking our Gurudev to help. So our Srila Prabhupada, he always had such a broad-minded and far-sighted ideas. He was so brilliant in how to execute the order of his Gurudev and how to fulfill the desire of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu. He was so completely dedicated to Krishna. In fact, it was said that one time there was a news reporter or some reporter who was asking, how are you able to do all of this work? And he said, Krishna is speaking and I'm writing. And someone interrupted and said, you mean, what he really means is that Krishna is inspiring. And Prabhupada said, what nonsense you are saying. He said, directly Krishna is telling and I am writing. This is Shabda Brahma. This means Tattvadarshi, directly connected. And I just wanted to share what our Gurudev said about Srila Prabhupada in this connection. He said, he is Akhanda Guru Tattva. Sorry. Now your Prabhupada, my Shiksha Guru, is not here within our vision, but he is here. He is everywhere. Although we don't have the eyes to see, He is everywhere. Like we hear from, what is it? Shonaka. He's saying, Tang Sarva Bhuta Hridaya Munimana Tosmi, glorifying, no, Sutta Goswami, glorifying Shukadev Goswami, that I see that my Gurudev is situated within the hearts of every living entity. He is present everywhere. We've been speaking about this with Narada Muni also. So, here Gurudev is saying, He is everywhere. We don't have the eyes to see, but He is everywhere. He is Akhanda Guru Tattva, a manifestation of Nityananda Prabhu, or Baladev Prabhu. He is a perfect self-realized soul, an eternal associate of Radha and Krishna. I have never seen an Acharya like him. It took Shankaracharya so long to preach his mission, and he spread it only in India. Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj, our Prabhupad, he spread it all over the world, in the East, in the West, in India, in America, Russia, China, places that were illegal. We heard how devotees were so eager to receive Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita in Russia that they would smuggle it inside a loaf of bread, 1 page at a time. And that 1 page would be circulated, and they would gobble it up because it was so difficult to get, so valuable, and so rare. Inside a loaf of bread, 1 page at a time. So, everywhere in the whole world in just a few days. How unprecedented is it? From the day Prabhupada arrived, it really took about 1.5 years for his mission to really start kicking off. It was very slow in the beginning, but he actually acknowledged that my Guru Maharaj, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, has sent all of you to help me. It was quite amazing because so many of Prabhupada's disciples, they were completely disillusioned with material society. So they appeared to be like hippies, many living naked in trees, in a park. And they weren't, even though they were children of well-to-do personalities, they still did not accept that. They were like Nangi Babas, you know, what you find in the Himalayas. They were already chanting different mantras. Some had mridangas, some had deities and things. They didn't know what they were doing. They were placed there at a certain age, 17, 18, 19, 20, when Prabhupada came, because of his intense desire to serve the order of his Gurudev with such deep conviction, to serve the mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, to bring the name of Krishna to every town and village. You see his excitement in that bhajan Sudevi was referencing. What is it? He wrote one that was on the boat, and then one when he arrived at the harbor. The one when he arrived at the harbor was a little bit desperate. Oh my God, why have you brought me to this terrible place? No one will want to hear this message. So he had a complete mood of desperate submittance and surrender. But on the way in, on the boat, Krishna Tava Punya Habibhai, it was so full of hope, so full of excitement and anticipation, because he knew it was the order of his Gurudev, and he knew it was the order of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he saw it, but when he arrived, he was thinking, how will it be possible? Krishna Tava Punya Habibhai, 381. I'm not going to sing it right now, but Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj actually gave his commentary on the words of Prabhupada. E punya koribe jabe radha rani kushi habe dhruva ati boli tomatai. Actually, this is a very interesting verse, because here Srila Prabhupada is daring Krishna. If you want to receive the mercy of Radharani, then you must help me with my mission. Now we all know that Krishna is so desperate for the mercy of Radharani. And who can challenge Krishna like that? Radhara Dasira Krishna Sarvaveri Bole. All the Vedas say that Krishna becomes the property of the maid servants of Srimati Radhika. They can say, oh, if you want her mercy, then you have to help me. Like this. So Prabhupada, Srila Sridhar Maharaj said that he is daring Krishna. If you want to receive her mercy, then you will assist me in this. Then he said, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur is extremely dear to Sachinandan Gaura Hari. and his service to Krishna is unequaled. He is that most exalted Guru, so he's glorifying his Guru. His intense desire is that the name of Sri Gauranga will be spread throughout the Western countries. Now, many times we have misunderstood when Mahaprabhu is saying, Sarvatra Prachar Hoibe Moranam, that he's saying that Hare Krishna will be spread around the world. Actually, he's saying Moranam, that my name will be spread throughout the entire world. So, the other name of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, right? He's Radha Krishna Nahe Anya. So, in one sense, Hare Krishna Mahamantra is actually the sound form of Sachinandan Gaura Hari, because he is the form of Radha and Krishna's love and affection. But he does say, Sarvatra Prachar Hoide Moranam, that my name will be spread in every town and village throughout the world. So here, it's saying that his desire, intense desire, was that the name of Sri Gauranga will be spread throughout all the Western countries, in all cities, towns, and villages of the earth, extending to all seas, rivers, streams, and everyone will chant Sri Krishna Nam. So he's saying transcendental bliss will then arise, and in all directions will be conquered by the profuse mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Everyone will receive that mercy. Thus the Vaishnava's desires will be fulfilled. And he says, although I've been ordered to accomplish this mission, I possess no qualification to do it. You are the wisest of all. So now I beg your mercy so that I may become worthy. So his mood was completely full of hope. He was writing this while on the boat. Then he arrived in Boston Harbor and he was like, oh my God, everyone's so absorbed in the pursuit of material happiness. How will they hear the transcendental message of the Lord? But you have brought me here for some reason. So use me as your instrument, just like a puppet in your hands, as Sudevi said. So our Srila Prabhupada has manifested this most beautiful mood of utter, complete dedication in the lotus feet of his Gurudev, serving in every capacity. Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Maharaja said, when he heard how our Srila Prabhupada himself was cooking, I believe it was that one ashram, the ashram of, oh gosh, I can't remember his name. There was one guru, yoga guru, and he had an ashram, and Prabhupada was staying there for some time. He was himself cooking. He was offering to Krishna. Then he would make the place for everyone. He would serve everyone. For what purpose? So that he would have a chance. After that person would speak, he would give him a little chance to speak about bhakti. So for that opportunity, he was serving everyone. Then he himself would clean up the plates. He would clean everything. He was taking care of everyone, serving in such a humble mood, just so that he would have the opportunity to share the message of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine. He was preaching the message of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Maharaja said, when I understood this, then I began to really have a deep mood of respect and honor, and realizing what a great personality this is, who understands how valuable this message is. In fact, Srila Prabhupada told our Gurudev something very similar to what Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada said. Now there's so many people who are of the mindset that the most important thing is to be vegetarian. But our Guru Varga did not have this mindset. Their mindset was the most important thing is to somehow receive the name of Krishna, to receive the glories of Krishna. And by this, everything else would automatically be taken care of. Just by being vegetarian, one cannot attain Krishna Bhakti. Krishna Bhakti rasabhavitamati kriyatam jarikitopi labhyate tatra lolyam apimulyam ekalam janma koti shukritarna labhyate. Millions of lifetimes of doing good things in this world cannot give you Krishna Bhakti. What can give you Krishna Bhakti? The mercy of those who have it, the pure devotees. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada had said something. And I'm telling this verse so that we understand the context of the next. He said, if it is necessary to serve meat, then I will not hesitate to do so, if by that I can preach the mission of Mahaprabhu. And he was ready and willing to serve meat to those like Lord Jetland, who was coming to Yoga Peeth. Not cows, but anyhow. So at that time, Srila Bhaktivedanta Sri Maharaj said so many of the disciples were very confused and upset, and so on their behalf he questioned Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada. And he said, your question is not, I will not entertain your question. I have already made up my mind 100 lifetimes ago. And our Srila Prabhupada told our Srila Gurudev, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Maharaja Maharaj, something similar. He said, if it is necessary that I serve meat and fish and eggs and wine so that people will come to hear about Krishna, then I will not hesitate to do so. Because I have faith in the name of Krishna, that when one begins chanting the name of Krishna, then very quickly and very easily, all of these anarthas, these lesser things will easily be given up. And we see what happened. So many persons were absorbed in eating meat, illicit sexual activities, so many different kinds of really awesome intoxication, and gambling. And when they met Prabhupada, he said, give up eating meat, illicit sex, intoxication, and gambling. They were like, what? And he said, just chant Hare Krishna. Chant and be happy. They were chanting Hare Krishna. I remember my father, he told me, he said, I was in high school. I had long hair. He was smoking a lot of pot and taking whatever else. But they told him, chant Hare Krishna. So he was in high school. He started chanting Hare Krishna and he had some beads. And he gave up. He said from day one, he gave up all intoxication, already had become vegetarian. And people were looking at him like, what are you on? I want some of that. And he would pull out his beads and say, this. And they were like, what? He's like, the Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna. So Prabhupada somehow infused the whole world with this amazing mood. All of this stuff that was so important for everyone. In a moment, thousands were able to give it up. They even gave up their beautiful long hair. They were wearing shikas, all their nice clothes, their inheritance.
Their children.
Their children. They were giving their children with intent that this is for, this jiva deserves a chance to awaken their bhakti for Krishna. That was the intention. Whatever happened as a side effect is a different story, but that intention, that mood in the heart that was inspired by Srila Prabhupada to give everything in the service of Krishna. This was unprecedented. We have not seen, our Srila Gurudev said, the nishta that he extracted from his disciples is unprecedented in history. That kind of deep dedication we have not seen. Even to this day, many might have so many weaknesses, but still so many are trying to maintain at least 16 rounds a day, trying to follow and holding on somehow with a deep hope and with affection and appreciation to the lotus feet of Srila Prabhupada. We see how, we've seen how when Srila Prabhupada came to the West, it was like everything was already prepared. Imagine if it was like the 50s. Everything was like perfect, beautiful, everyone was set in their material ways in such a way. But at that time, his ardent desire to serve his Gurudev, to serve Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, to serve his mission, to serve Radha and Krishna was so deep and so intense, Krishna had to make arrangements. It was like Krishna went and prepared it already. And Prabhupada came on that boat. It took 38 days, but you can imagine, it was like going, he actually said, why have you brought me to this hellish place? So from Vrindavan, transcendental Vrindavan to hell, it was a very short amount of time, like a torpedo. They didn't call it the Hare Krishna explosion for nothing. It was like, boom, Hare Krishna. The whole world was dancing, the whole world was chanting. And all of these persons who were there, like situated in all the right places, it was like he just came, snapped his fingers, threw his arms in the air and said, Jeev Jago, Gora Chandra Bole. They all woke up and began serving in such an amazingly brilliant way. It is unprecedented by his mercy, by his grace. Some devotees asked our Srila Gurudev, what is Srila Prabhupada's form in Gaura Lila, our Gurudev was very emphatic that our Srila Prabhupada is no ordinary personality.
Yes, so
He is
integral.
integral to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes, but he's no ordinary personality. He is able to assist in nourishing any rasa that anyone has, including Madhurya rasa, the mood of the gopis, including even more deep than that, the mood of those who are maidservants, eternal maidservants of Srimati Radhika. He's able to nourish that. Some people would say, well, of course, but our Srila Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami says, only a gopi can nourish that. Otherwise, they cannot nourish it. So our Gurudev was saying he is able to nourish all rasas. Therefore, we must understand that the highest conception of him is that he is of that mood, just like Rupa Goswami, like Bhaktivedanta Thakur, like Narottam Das Thakur, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, all of our Guru Varga. His eternal relationship with Radha and Krishna is just like them. That means maidservant of Radha and Krishna in Vrindavan. But in Gaura Lila, they were asking, who is he in Gaura Lila then? And our Gurudev said, isn't it obvious? How essential is he in Gaura Lila? He said that is his form in Gaura Lila.
Srila Gurudev said he fulfilled that prophecy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that his name would be chanted in every town and village. He said, Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami, our Srila Prabhupada, he said he fulfilled that prediction.
So he said this is his form in Gaura Lila. Can you not see? This is still part of Gaura's Lila. Like Narottam Das Thakur, he came just after. He actually never physically met Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Although Mahaprabhu deposited his praying for Narottam Das Thakur in the Padma River. And yet he never directly met Mahaprabhu. And see what Narottam Das Thakur did. So Srila Prabhupada is like that. Maybe not directly in Gaura's Leela like that. But what? Directly Gaura's Leela, he is actually manifesting to this world. Infused with that potency of Nityananda Prabhu as non-different. So Srila Prabhupada established Krishna Balaram. He said, to show the world that Nityananda Prabhu and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Gaurnitai, are non-different from Krishna and Balaram. To show this mood. And because Nityananda Prabhu's mood is this preaching mood. So Srila Prabhupada gave Nityananda Prabhu to the world. How? Through himself. He gave himself day and night in service, not only to his Gurudev, not only to Mahaprabhu, not only to Radha and Krishna, but serving all of those jivas, giving all of his hard labor. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada said, every selfless welfare worker of Gaudiya Math should be willing to expend a minimum of 200 gallons of their own blood for the spiritual welfare of each individual jiva of this world. And we have seen that our Srila Prabhupada did just that.
If you see, there's that video called The Final Lesson. Srila Prabhupada is lying there, which in such a state that probably we would not be able to even function. And very clearly he is dictating Krishna book. Brahma Vimohan Leela.
Yes, up to Brahma Vimohan Leela.
He's very lucid and just giving till he cannot give continuously. He was serving. So powerful. I wanted to just say that when our Gurudev came to the West, he said, I want to go to all of the places where Srila Swami Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada has walked and take that dust. He said, that is a tirtha. Damodar Prabhu wrote that Boston is the Dham. Dham is the place where Krishna manifests, but the Tirtha is even more important than the Dham, our acharyas say. The Tirtha is the place where the pure devotees go, and they purify even the holy Dhams. They are so extraordinary and powerful. This is why Om Vishnu Pad, the feet of Vishnu are moving and walking in this world. Vishnu means that person who permeates everything. Anyway, so when we were in Venice Beach with Gurudev, I know I told this before, but I was astonished by it.
1996.
This is 1996, and Gurudev wanted to walk on the sand where Srila Prabhupada had walked. And as we were walking on the sand, he looked and he said, Swamiji, did he walk right here? And they said, yes, Gurudev. And he said, in this spot, he walked. And they said, yes. And then Gurudev said, then this is a holy tirtha. All should do pranam immediately. And I was wearing my silk sari, and it's Venice Beach, and it's a horrible, dirty place. But he said, this is a holy tirtha. He purified this place. What to speak of all of the jivas, everything here is now purified because he has walked here. So we went and we did our pranam right there. And then Gurudev started a kirtan, his arms in the air singing Jaya Prabhupada, and we were dancing on the beach. Around him. But Gurudev said that every place he went, he made the world a holy tirtha. Lavangalata, who is on the thread, she said, Prabhupada came to China in my room. And she's sitting there, in the place where I live, he came. That is a holy tirtha, where the pure devotee is going, where he's giving Harikatha. Our Gurudev once asked about Rupa Goswami's samadhi. What is more important for us, his samadhi mandir, or his bhajan kutir? And then he said the bhajan kutir. Why? Because from that place he was giving Krishna, he was giving Mahaprabhu, he was giving Sambandha Gyan, he was giving everything. In samadhi he's completely immersed. He's nothing to do with us. But there in that bhajan place, he was giving. Srila Prabhupada did that all around the world. One thing I wanted to say, but
don't worry about that.
I wanted to say a couple of things. I know the cookie story was asked for. Maybe we can tell it tomorrow. We don't have to end today. But one thing I wanted to say that was very, very important. Sometimes devotees think that just hearing about the regulative principles and following them is a lesser thing. That, we just want to be Raganuga Bhaktas and we just want to run on the path of spontaneous love. But actually we see that because Srila Prabhupada built a very strong foundation in his disciples, that they have that nishta. They have that nishta in their Gurudev where they can actually run and serve on a platform. If we don't have that steady platform, if we don't have regulated bhakti the way he showed us, then we will be very weak. And our so-called spontaneous love will turn into a sahaja movement.
Into spontaneous lust.
It will turn into spontaneous lust. So, I remember being somewhere and someone said once, I'm so glad I never had to go through ISKCON. And I turned to them and I said, you are lacking in so much then. I am so grateful for that he gave us foundation. He gave us a proper balance. Yes, you should worship Radha and Krishna. There is Vrindavan, there is all this beauty. But if you don't understand the tattva, then how will you be able to actually appreciate the rasa? Never and never can you. He said religion without philosophy is sentiment.
And that's useless.
And that is useless.
Philosophy without religion?
And philosophy without religion?
Is speculation.
So it's very important what he was giving, that stability. He was giving us the platform where we could actually stand very strong. It wasn't that immediately upon meeting you would accept initiation. Now even you see that they have to wait a period of maybe 6 months to a year. They have to know shlokas. They have to follow all principles. They have to aspire for a particular person. And that personality has to know them. He set up a system that is so glorious. Look at that movement, is still moving. Go online and look and you see everywhere the devotees are there chanting mean, the youth. Look at the youth. They're out there enchanting the holy names everywhere. It's glorious and beautiful. We have actually so much to learn about this steadiness that he gave to us. Sometimes people think, oh, you know, he was just giving the foundation. Well, what will you do without a foundation? And he didn't just give a foundation. Our Gurudev, when I first met him, he was reading from Srila Prabhupada's books. I had just finished reading Srila Gurudev, or Srila Prabhupada's Nectar of Instruction. So I thought I knew my stuff. And then I met Gurudev. And then the year later, in 97 or something, he was reading from it. And he was reading a completely different thing than I read from it. You could see that he actually was bringing out all of the different moods, what Srila Prabhupada was telling, what leelas are corresponding to what Srila Prabhupada is telling here, 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 and here. How Gurudev was able to unlock it. And then all of a sudden, when you look at those literatures, you see it's everywhere. Srila Prabhupada was speaking in shlokas.
Sure.
Actually, he was speaking Anyabhilasita Shunyam again and again. He just wasn't saying the verse. He was giving it in English.
Or is it unalloyed devotional service?
Uninterrupted, unalloyed devotional service. He would continually tell that. That is Anyabhilasita Shunyam, and he would tell it again and again. Everything he was giving was from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. Everything from Srimad Bhagavatam. Following the line of our Guru Varg, he was of that nature. He is of that nature. He was giving that. Even Srila Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur wasn't speaking like Srila Rupa Goswami. He said, unfortunately, I have had to spend all of my time chopping jungles. I did not want to only have to do this, but I have seen this. Our Srila Prabhupada also said this, until Nirvishesh and Shunyavad are wiped out, until this thing is combated, how can bhakti be established?
Nirvishesh and Shunyavad.
Tell.
Nirvishesh means oneism,
Like
monism, or no, that's Shunyavad.
Shunyavad.
So Nirvishesh means without variety. So the idea that everything is just one. And that can also be Mayavad. And then Shunyavad means actually the idea that everything is nothing, or the desire to become nothing. So that is actually the end goal of the pure, or the general pure concept of Buddhism. So from Nirvishesh, Mayavadism, and the pure Buddhism, this is Nirvishesh Shunyavad. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu preached very strongly. In fact, in Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is said that one is just a covered form of the other. So in Prabhupada's Pranam Mantra, it says Nirvishesha Shunyavadi. That he came to root out that, and Paschatya Desha Tarine. He came to spread the mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu all over the world. Continue.
So also Srila Prabhupada said that he had to fight these things. It's not actually very hard for us to understand that. You know, when Srila Prabhupada left this world, my mother was crying, and a devotee actually chastised her for that. Oh, you shouldn't cry. It means, yeah, it's Maya. It means you don't have faith that he's a pure devotee and with Krishna. They weren't even allowed to have that spontaneous mood of weeping without, you know, oh, you're just attached to something, and it's present in all of us. Otherwise, he wouldn't have spoke so fiercely against these things to try to weed them out of our hearts. So the last thing that I wanted to say, I don't know if there's time to tell cookie stories.
You should.
Should I?
Well, okay, please, if we see, like, do you want to hear Sudevi's cookie story?
It's quick.
Mine's even faster. I'll tell mine first. I got a cookie from Prabhupada many times, but I only remember the one when I was 3. And there's a photo to prove it. So that's my cookie story. I was quite young. He used to come to Los Angeles quite often because it was the head of his book publications, it was the head of his BBT, and Spiritual Sky was based there. So it was the head of his global preaching mission. And so we would see him quite often.
So when I was a little girl in Los Angeles, my father, well, we used to go up and get cookies from Srila Prabhupada. And one day, my father told my sister, who may be watching, he told her, you should go and you should offer your obeisance to Srila Prabhupada, because the children were just taking the cookies and running. So
They were quite amazing, those cookies.
Butter cookies.
Oh yeah, butter shortbreads.
So my sister said, oh, I can't, I'm too shy, I can't do it. And I said, oh, I can do it. So I went up and Srila Prabhupada handed the cookie down. But before I took it, I went down and offered my obeisance. And then I got up to get the cookie, but he put it down. And I was shocked. I was like, oh my God, my dad did this. And then Srila Prabhupada began to search the plate. And then he got the biggest cookie he could find. And with the biggest smile, he gave that to me. And I remember when I was growing up, the worst chastisement that my father could give me, really, he would get, if I would do something really naughty.
Which he would do?
He would say, you know better. You got the big cookie from Prabhupada. You know better. Oh, so shameful. Yes, I got the big cookie. I was bad. What did I do? So we used to get so many cookies and we used to hand him flowers, and I remember seeing him many times in the temple, and also after his morning walk he would come back in an alleyway, and his room would be through the alleyway up these stairs on the side of the temple. And so we would stand there and we would give him flowers, and he would actually stop to take them from us. He was so kind. Even to babies, you know, with no teeth. He gave them things they couldn't even take, but yet he was trying to give any sweetness. How beautiful, how magnanimous, how merciful is the embodiment of Krishna's mercy in the form of Srila Prabhupada. We don't even know how to digest that mercy. Our Gurudev said, it is only because of him that you have come to me. Never forget that. It is only by his mercy that you have come to me, that we know about Krishna, that we know about Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that we know about the name of Krishna, that we know about Prasadam, that we know all that we have. Some people say, oh, I can't preach, I don't know anything. No, that means that we're saying that Srila Prabhupada and our Guru Varg have not given us anything. If anything, we could say, I don't really know much, but here's a great mantra, and here's a book. Here's a book. Those books are like time bombs. And we have seen throughout our preaching, we've been traveling for 19 years almost continuously. And we have seen people just out of the blue shining like light. And we're looking at them, who are you and why are you shining? Oh, there was a book sitting on the shelf for 20 years. It was a Chaitanya Charitamrita. My dad never read it, but I picked it up. And in there it said that ideally we should be chanting 64 rounds a day. So that's what I do. He never met the devotees, he just read.
His dad just bought the book on the street 20 years before.
Kept it on, he said, one day I just looked up and it was shining. So I took that book. Those books are so powerful. We have to give something in gratitude. Just imagine, if we, as he was speaking about the devotees in Russia, we have actually met devotees in Russia, in Lithuania, who were persecuted. They were put in prisons and even in psychiatrist, what is it, like I don't know if it's proper to say mental.
Asylums.
Asylums. And they were given shock treatments to get Krishna consciousness out of them. And they were so greedy for one little bit of nectar from Srila Prabhupada. Now we have it everywhere.
They made japa beads for themselves in prison by chewing on bread until it became gluten. And then they would dry it and make little beads from that, and they would chant on those beads in prison.
And that's what they would use for chanting. What was I saying? I don't remember.
We were speaking about how those devotees were so greedy and so eager to receive what...
Now we just go on database, you go online, all Prabhupada's lectures are there, and we take it for granted. We should not take this for granted. He worked so hard. He gave everything to give this movement. Movement means that there is something happening. It's moving. It's not static. Krishna consciousness movement. That is what it is called. It is not a static thing. It is expanding and ever fresh. And our way of repaying that is by giving that message to others. One day we were reading, and by practicing. We were reading Srimad Bhagavatam, and it was in the part where Daksha Prajapati curses Nard Rishi. And because Nard Rishi made 20,000 of the sons of Prajapati, who was supposed to populate the world, he made them all pure devotees. They all went to do bhajan. So then he had daughters, 100 daughters, 10,000 daughters, and they had children. But he became so upset with Nard Muni, and he said, I cursed you. You're creating problems for me. This is my duty. And you're turning everyone into bhaktas. So I curse you that you can stay in one place no longer than it takes to milk a cow. And because Dwarka and Vrindavan and these places are transcendental, Nard Muni would come here for shelter. That curse had no effect in these places. They are not ordinary places. But Srila Prabhupada in the purport, it was hilarious. We were laughing. He was saying, oh, all of the parents of my disciples, they have also put this curse on me. And I have to go from place to place. They are all angry at me. I've taken their children and I've made them into devotees. So they are also cursing me. And then he says, but I am an old man. At any time, Krishna can take me. So I am passing this curse, really this inheritance onto you. That you should also continue serving like this. A guru doesn't want disciples. They want to make gurus. That is their mission. Srila Prabhupada actually said, what is the use of so many twinkling stars in the sky? One moon is sufficient. He wanted to make moons. And on that note, I would like to read something from Srila Gaur Govinda Maharaj.
And before you do that, can I just mention one thing?
Yes.
Sometimes, because also Srila Gaur Govinda Maharaj spoke this as well, and our Gurudev did too, some people have this idea that Prabhupada only gave the basics. We see that in Prabhupada's books, he has given everything. And if he has not given something, then he gives reference to it. Srila Gurudev said, Srila Gaur Govinda Maharaj said, all of those who know and have seen, they've realized that he didn't only give the basics. It may be that he had to preach when he was speaking to certain audiences. Maybe he had to not give so many very deep or intimate things, but he left everything there in his books. So this should be very clearly understood that he is no less than any of his Guru Varga. He is of their same nature, and his capacity is to awaken. He has the capacity to awaken in any disciple or any devotee those moods of service in Vrindavan to Radha and Krishna.
So this is from the personal diary of Srila Gaur Govinda Maharaj. Very dear, dear. Srila Prabhupada said he is my son. So dear to Srila Prabhupada. And Vaishnava from birth. One day we'll be able to glorify try to glorify Srila Gaur Govinda Maharaj. But I wanted to read this because this is the prayer that every disciple should aspire for. He didn't just broadcast this to the world. This was in his personal diary. And in his diary, he's writing to his Gurudev. And so I wanted to end tonight, at least my participation in tonight's Puspanjali offering to Srila Prabhupada, with this as a prayer to Srila Gaur Govinda Maharaj, that may this mood for Srila Prabhupada and this mood for our Guru Varga also, even a drop of it, enter my heart. Dear Srila Prabhupada, Dear Srila Prabhupada, I don't know how to repay my debt to you. I have no ability to serve you or satisfy you. I have no knowledge, no intelligence, no strength of mind, and no energy. You are my strength, my only energy, my only knowledge, and my only intelligence. I am just an instrument in your hands. Kindly utilize me. Please give me Seva Adhikar so that I can eternally serve you with prem. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Gurudev Maharaj ki jai, Srila Gurudev ki jai, Rupanuga Guruvar ki jai.
So, on this day, or relating to this day, our Srila Gurudev required that we would speak something about Prabhupada based on his pranam mantra. But since time is already very late...
You can speak some Nirvishesha.
Yeah, but the most important part wasn't about what it isn't. It's not what it isn't, but what he actually came to give. Gauravani Pracharine. So this means to preach Gauravani, and our Gurudev would ask everyone, what is the meaning of Gauravani? And people would say, oh, it's the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he would ask another one, what is the meaning? And he wanted something very specific. That with this Gauravani, like with his Gurudev, Namaste Gauravani Shri Murtaye Dinatarine. So his Gurudev is known as the form, the Murti of the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And what is our Srila Prabhupada giving to this world? He is giving Gauravani, Gauravani Pracharine. That means he is giving his Gurudev. And who else is Gauravani, or Gaura Shakti Swarup? Bhaktivedanta Thakur, Bhaktivedanta Dhara. What is he giving to this world? So our Gurudev wanted us to quote one verse, and I'll speak about it a little bit tomorrow. Actually, I've spoken about it a lot before. But really, what is the essence of Gauravani? So our Gurudev would want us to quote this verse. Aradhyo Bhagavan Brajesha Tanayas Tadhama Vrindavanam Ramya Kachidupasana Brajavadu Vargena Yakalpita Srimad Bhagavatam Pramanam Amalam Prema Pumatto Mahan Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhur Matamidam Tatradaro Naparaha. The last line says, this is the opinion of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and there is nothing beyond it. So this, our Gurudev wanted us to tell on this day, what is Gauravani. So tomorrow I will go through it a little bit. Srila Gurudev ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Tadiya Avirbhav Maha Mahotsava ki jai. Srila Prabhupada's disciples ki jai, their nishta ki jai. May their nishta a little bit come to us ki jai. Shri Nandotsava ki jai. This is really the day of the celebration of Krishna's birth. So Shri Krishna Janmashtami ki jai. Shri Krishna Kanhailal ki jai. Shri Yashodanandana ki jai. Shri Rupananda Guru Varga ki jai. Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bol.
Please go on as long as you please.
We didn't even have time to sing his bhajans today.
And no Krishna Leelas, well, Prabhupada's Leelas.
We can tell some more Krishna's pastimes, which we weren't able to tell tomorrow, and other...
Gurudev used to have Srila Prabhupada's Tirobhav Mahotsav go on for 2 to 3 days. It was never just one quick celebration. It went on for sometimes days.
So many of Prabhupada's disciples were present there, and he wanted to give each one an opportunity to remember him, to glorify him, to speak about him. And so our Srila Gurudev, actually, he was very keen to make sure that when the devotees would speak about him, that they didn't only speak about things like he loved kachoris and liked to play with toy guns and things like that, but that, or that we would even speak about ourselves, but that we would actually somehow endeavor to touch on the glories of Srila Prabhupada, who he is, what he came to give, the speciality of that amazing personality. I mean, think about it. If you were somehow directly or indirectly connected to Prabhupada, then you are directly or indirectly connected to Gaura Leela. How amazing is that?
Nice.
When she was telling that, I was like, yeah, it's true. If that is his form in Gaura Leela, and we're connected to him somehow through this, then we're also connected to Gaura Leela. How about that? Means that the It's almost like the end of our samsara, the end of our journey in this material world.
It's the beginning of the end.
Oh yeah, that sun is rising and the light is shown. So
The
fan has been unplugged. It is spinning to a halt. Samsara is ending and Krishna Bhakti is rising. So we should be so amazingly hopeful. Never be hopeless. Okay. Jai. Shri Prabhupada ki Jai. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare
Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Gora Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Jai Jai Gurudev, Jai Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada. Oh Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Shri Gaudiya Gurudev ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai, Sri Guru Varga ki Jai, Prabhupada Shri Nityananda Prabhu ki Jai, Prem Purushottam Sachinandan Gaura Hari ki Jai, Radha Vinod Bihari Ji ki Jai, Radha Ramana Ji ki Jai, Giridhar Maharaj ki Jai, Harinam Sankirtan ki Jai, Hare Krishna Gaudiya Vaishnava ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai, Sri Nandotsava ki Jai, Sri Prabhupada Avirbhav Mahamahotsav ki Jai, Gaura Bhaktivedanta ki Jai, Jai Gaura Premanande. Govinda Damodara Madhaveti, Govinda Damodara Madhaveti, Govinda Damodara Madhaveti, Govinda Damodara Madhaveti. Radhe Radhe Radhe, Jai 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 Shri Radhe. Radhe Radhe Radhe, Jai 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 Shri Radhe. Radhe Radhe Radhe, So thank you very much for being with us today, for giving us the opportunity to remember the beautiful glories, some of the beautiful glories, of which there are unlimited glories, of Srila Prabhupada and the teachings of our Gurudev and our Guru Varga, and for engaging us in our Guru Seva. We look forward to being with all of you tomorrow. Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam,
Hare
dear
Krishna,
Vaishnavas.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.